National Intelligence appeared before a congressional hearing today to address the whistleblower complaint about President Trump's call with the Ukraine president. Congressman Adam Schiff spoke directly to him.
By law, the whistleblower complaint, which brought this gross misconduct to light, should have been presented to this committee weeks ago, and by you, Mr. Director, under the clear letter of the law. And yet it wasn't.
Congressman Devin Nunes maintains the call was blown out of proportion. In the wake of recent fatalities and illnesses linked to e-cigarettes, Attorney General Javier Becerra says an anti-vaping ad campaign is being launched.
In California, we don't sit around. We don't spectate. We act. And so I'm pleased to join City Attorney here today to take action.
And finally, LA businessman Steven Sempervivo has been sentenced to 4 months in prison for taking part in the college admissions cheating scandal. He paid $400,000 to get his son into Georgetown as a fake tennis recruit. Steve Clausen, California News.
Hi, I'm Jen. I'm a dog person.
I'm Clara, and I'm a cat person.
As a dog person, I wear Bobs for Dogs from Skechers because with every pair sold, Skechers makes a donation to the Petco Foundation to help save sheltered dogs.
As a cat person, I wear Bobs because they've already saved over 240,000 sheltered pets, including cats.
But I like that you can find Bobs at over 600 Petco stores.
I prefer to buy them online at Skechers.com.
Let's just agree that we both like Bobs.
Agreed.
Bobs for Dogs from Skechers. Available at Petco, Skechers, and wherever stylish shoes are sold.
Be a flu fighter with a free flu shot from Walgreens. It's no cost to you with most insurance. It's quick, easy, with no appointment needed. Plus, it lowers your chances of spreading the flu to the people you care about most. Get your flu shot at Walgreens and get $5 off an eligible purchase of $20 now through November 30th. This is your shot to protect you and the ones you love. Be a flu fighter. Walgreens. Trusted since 1901. Coupon offer not valid in Arkansas, New Jersey, or New York. See coupon for terms and restrictions. Vaccines subject to availability and some restrictions may apply.
NBC News Radio, I'm Brian Shook. The acting director of national intelligence says everything he did with the whistleblower report was legal. Joseph McGuire said he could not turn the report over within the 7-day window in the law because it included material that fell under executive privilege. McGuire discussed his role in the intelligence community.
I am not partisan and I am not political. I believe in a life of service and I'm honored to be a public servant.
President Trump says California Democrat Adam Schiff has zero credibility. He accused the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee of cooking up another fantasy to hurt the Republican Party. Schiff responded in a chat with reporters at the Capitol. He said he's always flattered when he's attacked by someone of the president's character. It appears the government will have the money it needs to stay open. The Senate easily passed a short-term spending bill to keep the government running until November 21st. The bill was needed as negotiators continue to work on the compromise bill to keep government open past the 2020 election. The Trump administration is slamming California again over its handling of the environment and homelessness.
A letter sent Thursday by the Environmental Protection Agency to Governor Gavin Newsom claims the state has failed to address its dirty air and water, and it points to piles of human feces in San Francisco. The letter says San Francisco, Los Angeles, and the state do not appear to be acting with urgency to mitigate human health and the environment that may result from the homelessness crisis. Governor Newsom calls the letter another abuse of presidential power against political opponents and not really about cleaning the air and water or helping the state resolve homelessness. I'm Joe McConnell.
Some of the nation's leading drugstores are recalling generic versions of the heartburn drug Zantac because of links to cancer. The boxes were sold over the counter at Walgreens, Walmart, and Rite Aid. U.S. officials are investigating how they became contaminated. You're listening to the latest from NBC News Radio.
Are you ready for a new experience? To see life from another point of view? New hope, new expression, new joy. This is your radio hour. Welcome to Viewpoint with Father John.
And welcome, friends. You are tuned to KCAA Radio, 1050 AM, 102.3 FM, 106.5 FM, or on the World Wide Web at kcaaradio.com. This is Viewpoint with Father John, and I am your host, Father John Reed. By the way, you can follow this show on both Instagram and Facebook. Just go to Viewpoint with Father John. All of God's children are endowed with extraordinary purpose and ability. I'm on a quest to help as many as possible in fully realizing their divinely inspired potential. Disposing a false narrative and embracing genuineness inspires clarity of purpose. My role is to help overcome self-imposed limitations in realizing one's spiritual potential And I like to tell you about a great place in Claremont called Claremont Pharmacy. It's where I go to get my diabetic supplies, and Dr. Nikki Ho is the owner of that pharmacy. And if you want really good old-fashioned caring service, this is the place to go. Everybody who works there is really helpful. It's on the corner of Indian Hill Boulevard and Arrow Highway in the city of Claremont, which is just about 3/4 of a mile north of the 10 freeway on Indian Hill Boulevard, for those of you who know north from south. Those who don't know north from south, good luck. Just go till you can't go no more. If you wind up on Holt, then you went too far the wrong way. So just keep that in mind. Brothers and sisters, Viewpoint with Father John is a listener-supported program. You're the ones that keep us on the air each week. So please go to viewpointwithfatherjohn.com and click the support button and give what you can. And those of you who've been supporting this program, I really want to thank you. You've been keeping us on for over a year and a half. Also, I want to invite you to buy a copy of my book, Close Your Eyes So You Can See Me. The premise of this book is that we're all God's children and that we do not need any more self-improvement. What we really need is self-discovery. Close Your Eyes So You Can See Me is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and on most online bookstores. So get your copy today. And remember, it's not too soon to start shopping for Christmas for the next 8 years. So get all the copies you want. Tonight, I'm kind of excited about the guests we have because we go all the way to high school. We went to high school together over at the wonderful school called Chaffee High School, which there is only one in that city, and the Tigers are the way to go. So my guest is Charles Morris Jr. He is the VP of Development and Acquisition for Global Genesis Group, a film and television production and distribution company based in Los Angeles and in Las Vegas. Charles is a produced screenwriter and the executive producer of dozens of feature films and television series, including Escape Room, a horror thriller starring Skeet Ulrich, and if I got that wrong, I'm going to say it's because of the way Charles typed it, even though it's me reading it, and Sean Young, and the $15 million animated feature, Troll, A Tale of a Tale, directed by Kevin Monroe, who directed the animated Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie, which I think they're trying to do judo on my lips while I try to read that. This year, Charles produced 2 Christmas movies and a horror film in Moldova. He is also the author of a novel, The New Desperado, set in Ontario, California, a place we know so well. Charles lives in Los Angeles with his wife and his 20-year-old son and his 15-year-old daughter, and he also shares in the Christian faith. Charles, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you, John. Great to be here.
Good to have you, my friend. Long time no see. I remember those old days of Chaffee and back when I was young, lean, and mean before I got old, lumpy, and dumpy. So
yes, it's been a while. We saw each other about 8 years ago.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, I remember that. I was sharing with Frank, our sound engineer, tonight, some of our past. And so, you in fact, you helped me dump some of that plump by getting me involved with exercise again. So that's good. You're very helpful. So tell us about your journey of going into the film business.
Well, I mean, that's a long journey. We grew up, as you said, in Ontario, and it's kind of 45 minutes from downtown LA, and about that same distance to Hollywood. But it's kind of a long distance into making it into Hollywood and making that a career, and so it's been a long time. My journey took me down to UC San Diego, where I was an English major, and then a car accident, I guess, fortuitously put me on a path. I had to drop out of UC San Diego, and while I was recovering in Ontario, I applied to USC Film School, and I was accepted into USC Film School, and so that, in a sense, started my journey. I moved to Hollywood and commuted and graduated and got into freelance writing and screenwriting, and I met actually my boss at Global Genesis Group. I met him right out of USC Film School. A friend of mine from UC San Diego, Ira Rubinstein. He said a producer. He met a producer at Synagogue, and he was looking for a writer, and so he hooked us up, and we're still working together all these years later. So,
oh, that's cool.
It was a long journey. Working as a freelance screenwriter is not it's not something I would tell my son to get into. It's a lot of rejection and a lot of learning, and you usually have to have a day job to do that. And so I did that for a long time, and I had a movie produced, The Deadly Takeover in 1995, starring Ron Silver and Jeff Speakman, and had other things in development. And we did another movie in 2009, Underground, and then about 6 or 7 years ago, my boss came to me and said they were starting a new company. Rick Romano is the president of the company, and he was in the marketing field and in social media marketing, and he saw kind of where the movie industry was going, even though he wasn't in the movie industry himself, that it was all going digitally, and so Harrell, my boss that I'd known for all these years, said, come join us. And so I came on as the head of acquisitions and development, and then now I'm the VP of acquisitions and development. And basically we're making feature films and TV series, and it's a quite exciting job.
And you let your old friend from high school just have to work a day job and do radio at night, and you didn't offer me any roles or nothing? I mean, I play a good drunk on the sidewalk. I really do.
There are a lot of people that are waiting in line for those roles.
Oh, I know.
I mean, we just shot a Christmas movie in New York.
Wow.
And we shot a horror movie in Moldova, which is right next to Romania.
I'm glad you said what that is, because my geography is worse than my spelling. So
yeah, it's a little company in a little country outside, like next to Romania, and we were at the Cannes Film Festival this year, and I met a director, and we actually acquired his movie called Werner Gruber. It's a thriller. It's a really beautiful movie. We acquired it for worldwide distribution. And as we got to know Igor, who, as I said, is a very talented young director, he said, hey, I have some financing. I'm going to be making another movie in a couple months. And it's called Charlotte, and it's a horror movie. I'm going to shoot it in English, and would you guys like to be involved? And so in our Las Vegas offices, we have a post-production facility, a post-production house. And so we could do all kind of things in post. I mean, the CGI, the color correction.
Oh, nice.
All the sound. We have composers on staff, and the sound mixing and sound design, and so I mean that can be expensive.
Oh yeah.
On low budget movies, it's it could run $100,000, $150,000, or $200,000, and so when we come on as a co-producer, sometimes we can bring in that post without money up front, because if we're the worldwide distributor, then we're gonna recoup our money from sales, and so that's how we can get involved in stuff. And we don't necessarily have to be physically, like we were not physically on set in New York for this Christmas movie, nor in Moldova for this horror movie, but we approved the scripts and the actors and of course the final edits and such. And so now it's one way to produce a movie. We're also physically on set at other times. Yes. Yeah,
that's what I was going to ask. Are there times that you like to be on set to see what's going on and make sure that everything's going the way that it was proposed to you?
Yeah, I mean, last year was very interesting for the company. We were a production service company for a Chinese movie in Los Angeles. It was called Oh Boy. We actually filmed out at Claremont Men's College for like a week. It was a college movie. It was kind of like a Revenge of the Nerds. A bunch of Chinese students come over to America, and they're going to college. They try to join a fraternity. They get made fun of, and so they form their own Chinese fraternity, and then they compete against the American fraternity. And so half the movie was in Chinese, half the movie was in English. So we were the production service company. So they asked us, of course, we did some work on the script as far as the English dialogue and such, but it was more about overseeing the production. And then last summer, we did the same thing with the Chinese TV series. It was kind of like a loss. We shot 19 episodes in Las Vegas. And in the summer, when it's 115, 120 degrees out in Vegas, it was quite an experience. Luckily, I was helping with the rewrites on some of the Chinese scripts, and so I would go out to set and see people and talk to people and have meetings, but then I could drive back and sit in an air-conditioned office and work on the script. And so it wasn't so bad.
Well, I heard the only drawback with those movies is after you watch them an hour later, you want to see them again. But
yeah, that could be a book in and of itself. Is dealing with the Chinese and their culture and making movies together. It was quite an experience.
Well, I'll forward you some of the letters I'm going to get tonight from that remark.
I didn't say it was a bad experience. I said it was quite an experience.
Yeah, no, I get that. Speaking of uncomfortable experiences, we're coming up to our first commercial break. My guest this evening is my good friend Charles Morris Jr., a established screenwriter, and we'll be back in 2 and 2.
The loss of a loved one is one of the most challenging experiences in a person's life. It's hard to know where to turn to make your loved one's final arrangements. Jesse Ruiz at Personal Funeral Planning in Ontario will treat you and your loved one with the respect you deserve. Jesse served in the Marine Corps in Desert Storm and understands what it takes to provide loyal, personalized, and empathetic service to those who need it most. The families of Michael Jackson, Brittany Murphy, Ed McMahon, and many others have trusted Jesse to provide them with the highest level of service and support. To work with Jesse, call 909-762-4027, 909-762-4027, or visit their website, www.4pfp.org. www.4pfp as in personalfuneralplanning.org. Jesse Ruiz and Personal Funeral Planning, veteran-owned and operated, helping you plan a personal, lasting tribute for your loved one. www.4pfp.org.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, K292FQ Riverside, and K293CF Moreno Valley.
Need a speaker for a church group, women's group, senior group? A speaker with an uplifting message about aging? A speaker with 20 years experience in senior and health care who reveals what you need to know to protect yourself as you grow older. She's the author of the book titled Old Age, The Paradox of Physical Decline and Spiritual Greatness. Author and speaker Barbara Matthews exposes the shortcomings of our present-day system of caring for older adults and offers a better model filled with purpose and meaning. Barbara Matthews is available for presentations from half an hour to all-day events. For more information, email ageofbeing@gmail.com. That's ageofbeing@gmail.com. You can also find her book, Old Age, The Paradox of Physical Decline and Spiritual Greatness at Amazon.com.
And welcome back. You're tuned to KCAA Radio, 1050 AM, 102.3 FM, 106.5 FM, or you can listen from anywhere in the world at www.kcaaradio.com. This is Viewpoint with Father John, and I am your host, Father John Reed. By the way, if you missed any episodes or you want to rehear an episode, just go to YouTube and then type in for the search Viewpoint with Father John, KCAA, and you can get all past shows. And there's some great stuff on there. And be sure to subscribe. That helps the show out a great deal. And my guest this evening is a good friend of mine, Charles Morris Jr., and he does a lot of Hollywood stuff. He's both written screens. He's also produced. He's written a novel called New Desperados. So he comes to the show with a lot of stuff to offer us. Tell me the truth, Charles. What do you prefer? Do you like the Christmas movies or the horror movies? I want to see how much it is from like it was when you were in high school. That's why I'm asking.
Well, we have more of a history with the horror movies. The Christmas movies are a really new thing. We picked up one just a few months ago from this director, Candace Kane, and out of New York, and she's very talented. And then we did two more with her after that. And I mean, we had a meeting at Hallmark a few months ago, and the head of acquisitions was telling us that Hallmark makes 100 Christmas movies a year, and
Wow.
and Lifetime makes 40. Ion, Up Channel, Netflix. I mean, so there's probably a good 200 Christmas movies being made a year. I did not know it was that widespread.
Well, I think.
Yes, go ahead.
I think you guys are missing a wonderful opportunity because you're offering the either or, either a Christmas movie or a horror movie, and you can combine them. It's the Christmas movie, and then they get the credit card debt, and now it's a horror movie.
That is true. But there's a lot of people in the world, and everyone has different tastes, and so some people, of course, would like to watch a Christmas movie. Other people are more into horror, and so you try to open yourself up to when you're diverse and working on diverse projects. You have a greater probability of meeting different audiences and making different sales, and so it's more of a safe approach when you have a
bigger
varied
portfolio
way of looking at different genres and different films and TV programs instead of just doing one, hypothetically just making Christmas movies.
Yeah, not being a one-trick pony. Well, I know someone who actually, during Christmas time, loves to watch horror movies. And they just crack me up. They go out of their way to watch some of the most deranged things during Christmas because they like to see me watch from underneath the couch because they scared the bejesus out of me. And so, especially since I'm someone who's been on actual exorcisms, and I've been dangled by my throat by something you couldn't see off the ground by 3-4 inches. So she watches these movies, and then I tell her the background of some of these movies, like Annabelle and such, and what parts of those are real, and some are just being written out. So, are you writing anything right now?
We actually just we finished a Christmas script, and then we just did a major rewrite on a Holocaust movie called Hand of God.
Wow!
And it was it's based on a true story, and of course it's horrific and tragic. It's the Holocaust, and we've all seen it, and it's a horrible part of human history. But
that's got to be heart-wrenching.
It is. But there are stories of humanity and love, even in the most horrible places and during the most despicable times.
Well, yeah, you look at some things like Schindler's List, and while there's tragedy, there's also a great deal of compassion and love, and you have an actual hero in that, a few of them. So I would imagine there's some of that in your movie as well, where especially since it's also taken from a true story. When you're reading that script, may I ask what kind of went through you as you're reading this?
Well, when I was reading the script, and then when we had to do the rewrite, what I really did for a couple months was jump onto YouTube and just watch as much about the Holocaust and as much about Germany and Hitler and at that time, because you have to get in. I mean, one of the main characters is a German soldier who is called the Jew Hunter, and I mean that's what he does is when they're running from the cities into the forest and trying to escape and trying to get to other countries and other borders. I mean, our story, they were trying. Hungary wasn't occupied by Germany yet, and so they were trying to go from Poland into Hungary, and so it was all of these journeys through farms and forests, and there's of course a Nazi tracking them, and so you have to get into, or you have to try and understand people's motivations. You have to try and get into their head a little bit of why they would do this and why they would, and a lot of these people were just, it was brainwashing in a sense. Ever since they were kids, they were growing up and they were hearing about the Jew problem, and Germany was in disastrous economic times because of World War I, and here comes somebody that his speech was beautiful, and it was all about the motherland and making Germany great again, and people wanted to have hope, and they made the Jews the evil ones, the people that were responsible for all their troubles, and so people just naturally didn't like them and hated them, and that's why all this happened.
Boy, doesn't that sound awfully familiar?
Yes, I mean it's scary times.
Yes,
but
as in all these times, you know, it has been said by much wiser people than me that the only thing evil needs to prevail is for good people to do nothing. And we're in a time right now where good people really need to stand up and say, "Hey, we're all God's kids, man. We got to come together." There, you know, the things that's losing our jobs is not people, but it's really the animation, you know, the electronic stuff that's what's taking the jobs, not people of color. So it's so I didn't mean to get into that tonight, but yeah.
It comes down to as simple as when the gentleman asked Jesus, "What do I need to do to go to heaven?" And he said, "Love your father and love your neighbor as yourself." I mean, if we all did that, what a great world we would live in. But it's a difficult thing to love your neighbor because they're different, and whether it's a political party or social strata. I mean, just like one of your commercials earlier was talking about homelessness. I mean, who goes? When you're reading the Bible, someone said, you know, those are the people Jesus was going to. He was going to the lepers. He was going to the homeless. He was going to the downtrodden, and you know, here we don't do that in a sense. I mean, we're not reaching out as much as we should. We're not trying to help the poor and the powerless.
Which goes back to the other half of that verse you quoted, which is he says, "You're missing one thing: sell all your riches and give it to the poor," which he left because he had many riches and he didn't want to do that. And we're doing the same thing. We're one of the richest nations in the world, but yet we don't have health care that's worth much. We have it, but nobody can afford it. And then we have the poor. In fact, a study just came out today. It's funny that we were talking about this, that we have the greatest gap between the wealthiest and the poorest than we've had since they started keeping records 50 years ago on this kind of thing. And that's really something else, because we claim all the Christian stuff, but we really fail in acting it out and helping the poor, helping the stranger, and that's why Jesus separated the sheep from the goat in Matthew 25, and because people did a lot of talk, but they didn't visit when someone was sick or was imprisoned or was hungry and stuff. And so, yeah, it's interesting. I want to take another turn in our conversation. I want to talk a little bit about your novel, The New
Sure.
Desperados. Tell us a little bit about that book.
Well, that actually started off as a movie script, and it was one of the first things I ever wrote. So many decades ago, and it was about a couple brothers and their father, and growing up in Ontario and working in a aerodynamic plant, and a lot of people and all their social group all worked in that plant, and that was the life they knew. While the corporation, which is ironically called America Inc., so America Incorporated said they needed to close this plant because they were shipping out the labor down to Mexico. And so all the workers went to protest, and during the protest, the father got killed.
Oh.
And so the brothers, they don't get unemployment because they were protesting, all these things, so they're destitute, they're homeless. And they find out that American Incorporated also owns all these Stop and Shop mini marts, and so the two brothers start robbing the Stop and Shops and saying, we're stealing from the corporation, we're taking back the money that the corporation owes us, we're giving it out to the workers, and so they become kind of Robin Hoods, and they're taking the money from the corporation and spreading it out, and the older brother, Smiley, it goes to his head, and he becomes a megalomaniac and saying, I'm a hero, I'm doing good, this is what I was meant to do. Whereas the younger brother, Charlie, is basically been a follower all his life, but he meets a girl, and he's influenced by the girl, and he realizes there's more to life than robbing people, and so it becomes a fight between the brothers. And that was the screenplay. And then a few years ago, when I became a Christian, I thought, well, what if the girl, her name's Magdalena, what if Magdalena is a Christian? And so, Smiley and his glory, and I guess he's kind of going towards the dark side, and here Charlie is looking and saying, that's not someplace I want to go. And then the girl comes in who's had a horrific journey herself, with her mother dying and being homeless and hanging out with drug dealers, and she came to Christ, and so he's all of a sudden not only attracted to her physically, but attracted to the way, just the glow about her, that her, the hope that exudes from her.
The spiritual appeal, right.
Yeah, and so he starts, of course, falling in love with her, but then he realizes that he also likes what she's saying about the way to live and about the light and about doing the right thing and committing the life to Christ. And so the fight between the brothers now has a far more spiritual tone because, of course, she's Christian.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's sort of like the difference between going to Ontario High School and Chaffey High School, Sorry, we had to do that one.
Yes, well, I have a lot of friends at Ontario too, but yes, there was that rivalry. Also, Upland High School.
Yeah, the Highlanders. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I used to consult years ago at Ontario High School, so I have a little kind of a running thing there with some of the old staff, because just some of the fun I can't really go into tonight, but it was just know it was a good time at other people's expense. So, well, that sounds like a very interesting book. How long has it been out?
Well, that has an interesting story too. I picked up a publisher a couple years ago, and then right when the publisher picked up the book, they basically like 3 or 4 months after. I mean, we were going through the process and making the book cover, and they went out of business. And so, I'm talking to some other people, but it's just been a very busy couple of years in the movie job that I do, my day job, and so I've just kind of put it aside and not really focused on it. But it's there, and as I said, I'm talking to some other publishers at this time.
Well, don't be too discouraged, and I'll tell you why. My book, my first publisher, after the book was out the first time under the original cover, it Borders, when they went bankrupt, put my publisher out of business, and they still owe me thousands of dollars. And so then St. Paul's Press in Philippines published it, and they're still publishing it under a different cover, but only in Europe. And so I actually worked out a deal with Amazon for the third publishing of the book, and so now it's been all handled by Amazon. But you know, it's not unusual. I don't know if you remember the book when we were in high school, Jonathan Livingston Seagull by Richard Bach.
Yes.
You know, it was rejected 13 times before it was published. And after the last rejection, he'd actually thrown the manuscript away, and his wife at the time, he had a few of them, actually got it out of the trash can and sent it in to one last publisher, who was the one that published Jonathan Livingston Seagull. And so from one friend to another, don't be discouraged.
It's part of the creative world, and it's a business. It's nice to sit and write screenplays or books, but somebody still has to finance them and produce them and market them, and so.
Speaking of financing, Frank is looking at me through the glass like, you better go to the next commercial break or you're going to be financing this yourself. So my guest this evening is Charles Morris Jr., and we'll be back on Viewpoint with Father John in just a couple minutes.
The loss of a loved one is one of the most challenging experiences in a person's life. It's hard to know where to turn to make your loved one's final arrangements. Jesse Ruiz at Personal Funeral Planning in Ontario will treat you and your loved one with the respect you deserve. Jesse served in the Marine Corps in Desert Storm and understands what it takes to provide loyal, personalized, and empathetic service to those who need it most. The families of Michael Jackson, Brittany Murphy, Ed McMahon, and many others have trusted Jesse to provide them with the highest level of service and support. To work with Jesse, call 909-762-4027, 909-762-4027, or visit their website, www.4pfp.org. www.4pfp as in personal funeral planning.org. Jesse Ruiz and Personal Funeral Planning, veteran-owned and operated, helping you plan a personal, lasting tribute for your loved one. www.4pfp.org.
Ladies, and guys too, you work hard, and once in a while, you have to take care of yourself. When it's time to pamper yourself, to take care of yourself, your next stop should be Next Gen Nails and Spa in Redlands in the Tri-City Center. It's very special. Relax. Enjoy this special, luxurious treatment that you deserve, and leave your stress behind with the best beauty care and a royal spa pedicure that includes a warm water soak, trim, sea salt scrub, paraffin therapy, and a luxurious hot lotion massage. You deserve it, and you deserve it today. Look good, feel good at Next Gen Nail and Spa in Redlands, because you're worth it. And for a quick session, join Next Gen on Wednesdays for their $10 off spa treatments happy hour from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. The salon is always squeaky clean and waiting. So for the best beauty care and to treat yourself, it's Next Gen Nails and Spa at 1470 Industrial Park Avenue in Redlands, or Google Next Gen Nails and Spa in Redlands.
And welcome back. You're tuned to KCAA Radio, 1050 AM, 102.3 FM, 106.5 FM. We're on the World Wide Web at KCAAradio.com. This is Viewpoint with Father John. I am your host, Father John Reed. Hey, by the way, a shout out to our sound engineer, Frank. You may not know this, but the guy's also a musician. He does, what do you call that music? Techno.
There's many subgenres of techno is a subgenre of like electronic dance music, but there's all sorts of little subgenres, just like how there's like classic rock and punk rock and stuff. So, but I make all sorts of weird music. And
I tried that electronic music stuff, and I broke my laptop when I dropped it while trying to spin doing the never mind. Another bad joke. Anyhow, my guest this evening is Mr. Charles Morris Jr., and he is in the Hollywood scene. Is there anything you want to tell the listeners about that you're currently working on that they should keep an eye out for?
There's a lot of things that we're working on. I don't know where to start. I mean, we have a TV series called Settlement 12. That's
what's that about?
It's a sci-fi. Imagine The Walking Dead in 150 years, and so it's a post-apocalyptic zombie show. And so right at the moment we're talking to cast, and we're talking to Netflix and Amazon and a couple other big broadcasters about it.
I should give you the phone number to my brother's ex-mother-in-law. She might be a good typecast. You heard that, Bob? You owe me $5 for that one. But so, well, that sounds kind of interesting. Now, do you have a flyer on it yet? One of the networks picking it up, or
no? I mean, we have a showrunner attached to. They're the people that oversee the whole production. And I mean, he's well known in the industry, and so we're just in the midst of casting it at this moment. And as I said, there's people and platforms, digital platforms, and broadcasters that are waiting for us to just come to them with a cast, and we basically have a show at that time.
Now, is that when you shoot a pilot reel and then they look at the pilot reel, or?
No, I mean, pilots aren't done as much anymore.
Oh, I didn't know
the networks still do them. Like we will have a show Bible or a pitch Bible, which talks about the show and talks about the world that the show lives in, and the plot and the overview of the series, and then you break down each character, and then you talk about, well, in episode 1 this is going to happen, in episode 2, and then of course you talk about season 2 and season 3 about the story arc and character arc. So when a network executive sits down, they could they not only have the script, which would be the pilot script, but they have the show Bible, which explains what the show is going to do over the next couple seasons. And so that's more of the way things get pitched now. I mean, people might make, and sometimes we do teaser trailers.
Okay.
So you could shoot a couple scenes and shoot a couple actors, but you don't have to go out and shoot a whole pilot. So, I mean, a whole pilot could be hundreds of thousands of dollars up to $1 million, 1.5, 2 million, and unlike a feature, if you go make a feature for that, you can always distribute the feature, whether it gets theatrical, or it gets video on demand, it gets digital. But on a pilot, once you have a pilot, if the networks don't buy it, if nobody picks it up, then all of a sudden you spent all that money and there's no way to monetize it. There's no way to get that money back. And so sometimes you'll go, if you have a good idea, you'll go make a feature film and use that as a backdoor pilot and say, look at this movie. We can turn this into a TV series, and so if it's going to be a series, then they have the option of releasing the movie, or they could shoot everything over. But your backup is if you have a movie and nobody wants to do it as a series, now you have a feature film that you could distribute to the world, and so you can monetize it at that time. So that's why only the rich, only the like NBC and ABC. I mean, those companies, the networks are still doing pilots, but it's just not as big of a it's just not as big of an industry as it once was.
Yeah, because a few years back, before I got into radio, I was actually hired to be on a couple of pilots where I was the guest being interviewed, talking about different stuff, mainly because of my book. They wanted me on there. And, you have to wait for the pilot to go through to get that paycheck. It's like, come on, guys. It's it wasn't a whole lot of money, but, when you live on love offerings, every penny counts,
Of course.
So that and I had to drive all the way into Hollywood to do the pilot. So, that was an interesting experience. So, good. Well, I have to ask this because I will get questioned by some of our old friends from Chafee if any of the stuff you write is ever sort of based on any of their personalities.
When I wrote the New Desperados, there's a lot of experiences and maybe some characteristics and some incidents and such that were based on real incidents or real people. One of my first scripts that I wrote was also set in Ontario. It was called The Badlands Kid, and those characters were based on a couple of the Gallo brothers, if you remember.
Yeah. I won't say their first names. I remember them very well.
Occasionally, I mean, you write from experience. I mean, you're a writer when you're thinking of people. I mean, you only have your perspective, and so you have to put your thoughts into somebody else's head and try to imagine how they see the world. And growing up in Ontario, going to Chafee, I have a particular viewpoint that somebody that grew up on the East Coast or in Texas or in Florida doesn't have. And so I can only, in a sense, imagine things through Ontario eyes.
Sure. No, I get that because when you're describing some of the characters, I was thinking about some of the people we'd gone to school with, and it kind of struck me that I wonder if this is partly based on so and so and so and so. And of course, I wouldn't have you put the names over the air because neither one of us could afford the lawyer's fee of that one. And I'm sure that KCAA would be and NBC would be thrilled to just send me the bill on that one. So
yeah.
But yeah, it's funny that you'd mentioned those brothers because that would make sense. It really would. And I won't say it on the air, but I have a feeling I know who the lady involved might have been. And the last initial would start with V. Am I on the right track?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to leave it alone at that. Okay, I promise. I can hear you sweating over the phone. So Charles should know that I always like to push the envelope a little bit, and so I'm not going to hang him out to dry on this. I think too much of him. He's a good guy. And, this is really fascinating. And are you enjoying what you're doing?
Yeah, but it's a job. It's so you always work and you think and you dream to want to be doing the kind of things I'm doing, and I always thought I was just going to be a screenwriter or a writer. I never thought I would be a producer or an executive of an entertainment company.
Sure.
I mean, I've gone all over Europe. because of this job, and I mean, I go to the Cannes Film Festival, so there's a lot of perks with it, and it was funny. The last time I was in Cannes, I was walking around, and I had been there a few times the last couple of years, and so I had to pause and look around and say, "Wow, I'm in Cannes, France. I'm at the Cannes Film Festival, and I never would have imagined I would be here, but." Through the grace of God, and however He has pointed me to things in my life, and that's where I was. But taking meetings and talking to people all day, it's a job, and so you're caught up. And as I said, when I paused and I thought about it, then you think, "Wow, this is pretty cool. I'm doing what I always wanted to do." Yeah. But on a day-to-day basis, you're talking to people, and it's aggravating, and it's frustrating. People are difficult. That's just, people generally are difficult, and you have to go through that on a daily basis. And so it becomes work. And when you're in the middle of work, you're not thinking, "Wow, this is what I always wanted to do."
That's true. That is a valid point. But from where you and I come from, and I'm not putting Ontario down, but it's really a place to be from. You've really come a long way, and I'm very proud of what you've done. And I mean that sincerely. You've known me long enough to know if I didn't mean it, I wouldn't say it. And, there's a lot of people from our school that haven't been able to get that far, and it wasn't from lack of talent. We had a lot of talented people there. We had some that went in the NFL. But there was also a lot of death in our school, and a lot of our classmates are no longer with us for various reasons. And, we know some of them, and some we never will know. But there was just something about Ontario that there was some rough streets. And
it's California, and so yes, we did grow up in Southern California, and it's, as I said, it's an hour east of Los Angeles. It's not that far, but it's suburbia, and it's the Inland Empire, and it's its own place. And so I know a lot of people that have stayed in Ontario, and I know that some that have gotten out, and it's just, my parents grew up in the Inland Empire, and my grandfather worked at Kaiser Steel, so
yeah,
my
Kaiser
history is in the Inland Empire. That's where I was born and bred, and
well, Tom Alleman made it clear to Upland.
Yeah.
So, what the heck?
Yep.
So, yeah, it's funny how we wind up coming back to this area, because I've been across the country. I've done different stuff, and somehow I'm back in Claremont now. And so it's like, I don't know if there's ever really getting out of the Inland Empire forever. So, but we do have a couple of classmates that have.
Definitely in your head.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. Well, we're coming up to our last few minutes on this segment, but I'm really excited about having you on tonight, because like I said, we go back a long ways, and last time we really sat down and talked was about 8 years ago, I think. Pretty close to that. We were having lunch over at El Torito, if I remember correct. I don't trust my memory that great. And to see where you are today, what a blessing. What a blessing. And you've worked hard for it. This didn't just get plopped in your lap. And I think that's one of the things and one of the reasons I wanted to have you on the show, because I know a lot of people want to break into either radio or television or screenplays, and they don't realize that you don't just wake up one morning and it's happened. There's a lot of work that goes into it, a lot of preparation, and then it starts happening. Has that been your experience?
Oh, it's a journey. You have to have perseverance, and you have to, as I said earlier in the call, just get comfortable with rejection, and get comfortable, because 99 things that you do, or 99 people that you talk to are going to say no, or they don't want to do this project, or they don't like this project. But you just have to find that one person, or you just have to find that one project, and it's just a constant struggle of finding
the magic
what
key
is going to work.
Yeah. Well, I
so
know.
It's not an easy profession.
No, it's not. In fact, I remember hearing Mel Brooks talk about being in between films and being absolutely broke in between films from time to time. And here's a guy, who really had a lot of stuff going on, but he would go through times where he was absolutely broke and would have to rely on some savings and sandwiches. He said he had a lot of sandwiches. Yeah. But he loved what he did and wouldn't do anything else. And we're coming up to the very end here. Hey, thank you for coming on tonight.
Of course.
We got to get together again soon, just so that we can make people worry about our mental health.
Sounds good.
And thanks for being on the show. And
of course, thanks for having me.
And I want you folks to all look at the credits next time you go to the show, and when you see Charles Morris Jr., know that you heard him here on Viewpoint with Father John, and I'm grateful not only for what he does, but I'm grateful for his friendship, and we have to get together again soon, my friend. God bless.
Yes, definitely.
And,
right, thank you.
And brothers and sisters, I want to thank you for tuning in again. All those who turn around, you tune in to all around the world. I can't believe I get emails from all points of this globe of ours, and yes, I am praying for you, those who wrote me about the Amazon fires, and thank you for asking me to pray for you. I am honored to do that. We're all concerned for you. And for the people in Southern California, my loyal listeners, I thank you that you continue to join in on the show, and I want to give a shout out to Frank, our sound engineer. Thank you for everything you're doing, and shout out to Gabby. She's taking another floral class. A lot of you have seen some of her work, and so she should be there when I get there, and I miss her. And if no one's told you this week that they love you, let me be the first, and we'll be back next week on Viewpoint with Father John. God bless.